How's it going, everybody? Mike here, and in this video I got some bad news to talk about regarding Bandai Namco as far as what they're doing, their restructuring, things like that, and what this means for the company going forward and games that they have been working on. And we've got news that games that have been canceled as well. It sucks, dude, because like I know they just dropped Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and that's got huge success. That is selling like hotcakes. I think it's like what, 3 million or so copies sold now at this point, probably more. I don't know, but I remember hearing and reading about that. It's insane how well that game is doing, overall. But at the same time, it's not too surprising considering the Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi series has always been a fan favorite, and it's back after being gone so long. I think 14 years or so, and it's such a great game from what I keep seeing and hearing about and read about too. So it's insane how that game is doing so well, but obviously they won't see the long-term like results of and effects of how well it's doing for at least a few months or so. But yeah, Bandai Namco is reportedly sending staff to expulsion rooms where they have nothing to do after canceling multiple games, including a mystery Nintendo project as well. And I remember, I think, reading about and hearing about where in Japan, it's illegal to fire people, at least like without extreme cause or something like that. So apparently they're doing this like tradition where they'll send their staff to like a room or not really like give them anything to do, kind of like give them a hint like, hey, you're gonna be sent to this room, different area, office, whatever, and sort of letting them know like, hey, you're kind of been let go, but we can't exactly like fire you outright. So essentially this like is a way to motivate people to resign. This report originally comes from Bloomberg, and they report that Bandai Namco is cutting its workforce after canceling several games due to lackluster demand. And Bandai Namco as a company is no joke as far as like being one of the biggest Japanese video game developers out there. Like they're still a big company overall, like along with Capcom, Square Enix, and others out there. And the method they're using with the whole expulsion room thing is called Odashi Beya. That's the Japanese term for it, where they're giving nothing to do and pressures them to essentially leave voluntarily. So according to the site, Bandai Namco Studios Incorporated has moved about 200 of its roughly 1,300 employees to expulsion rooms, and nearly 100 have resigned, at least at the time of this article that I'm reading from. And that's not all. It's apparently with more expected to leave in the coming months. Bandai Namco has responded to this situation saying, our decisions to discontinue games are based on comprehensive assessments of the situation. Some employees may need to wait a certain amount of time before they are assigned their next project, but we do move forward with assignments as new projects emerge. There is no organization like in Odashi Beya at Bandai Namco Studios designed to pressure people to leave voluntarily. Bloomberg also reports that Bandai Namco has suffered financially in much the same way other video game companies have post-pandemic, with big losses coming from write-downs tied to game cancellations. It alleged that Bandai Namco has recently stopped development on games that feature characters from Naruto and One Piece, as well as a project commissioned by Nintendo. Now, when it comes to games that are canceled featuring characters from Naruto and One Piece, this may not necessarily mean like full games dedicated to them, but like the Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm games, for example, or like another One Piece like RPG or something like that, or it could mean a One Piece Pirate Warriors game possibly, or it could be mobile games that involve these characters. But I think a full game centered around the actual IP, I think that's still going to happen because Bandai Namco is known to hold on to these licenses with Naruto, One Piece, and other animes that they make video games out of. So, and those games usually sell pretty well, and extremely well in some cases, like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. The Nintendo game, though, I mean, some of you may not know, but I believe Bandai Namco had a hand in helping with development of Smash Brothers in some way, or mostly developed that. But there's a lot of games I remember hearing about, reading about that they essentially helped Nintendo with to make for their platform. So not sure what exactly that could have been. I don't think it was another Smash Brothers game, but it could have been easily something else. And besides Smash Brothers, they help with Pokken Tournament and the new Pokemon Snap games as well. But this sucks. It's like, even though the video game industry is still supposedly like making a ton of money it's still hurting. It's still losing a ton of money overall as an industry. Like the things are changing consistently. Technology's changing, society's changing, the way gamers are is changing. And I think part of it is that we as gamers, consumers, are fed up with some of the, you know, tactics being used in the game development and things like that, that publishers are forcing on devs to do, whether it's like the microtransactions or, you know, 3-day early access thing or other stuff that's just like nonsense that just doesn't need to be in our video games. And I think the industry itself is just keeps getting more and more to a point where it's just gonna like sort of buckle on itself. It's gonna be an implosion of some sorts, and there's gonna need to be like a reset to sort of go back to some of the old ways of video game development to be prosperous again, because trying to, you know, increase the cost of development in different areas for whatever reason is just not sustainable. It's not. Like, we don't necessarily need to have all these games being at 4K or trying to get these games running at 8K, in my opinion. I know people will disagree with me that, and people love their 4K resolution, all this like that, and that's fine, that's cool. But from a business standpoint, trying to have all these better visuals and, you know, graphics and like that isn't worth it at the end of the day if people are losing their jobs, you know, being laid off, stuff like that, because games aren't selling well, you know. And I've made videos on this before, talked about this plenty of times, that I think we've hit our peak in terms of graphics, like visual fidelity, things like that, and graphics do not sell video games anymore, or at least not as much as you think. And so that's also why I think they need to stop focusing on spending money in so many areas, like, you know, too much on visuals or sort of things that don't really matter in the long run. Like, you can still make a great looking solid game, you know, without it having to be using all this AI technology and stuff like that to make the graphics run so much more high quality, better, things like that. I mean, I don't know, that's just me though, but it sucks that it's happening. Bandai Namco is, you know, a good long-running company, and that they're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Obviously, they're still one of the top companies in Japan, like with Capcom and Square Enix, but Square Enix has also had to do some restructuring because of games not selling as well as they hoped, like Final Fantasy 16 and Rebirth, for example. And I know Square Enix is going to more of like focus on a more of a quality over quantity type of approach, where they're gonna like be releasing fewer games yearly or every year going forward, but they want to focus on, I guess, better quality of those games overall, which is honestly a good way to go about it, because if you have a great quality game that includes like great performance, you know, good story, characters, writing, gameplay, etc., that game is gonna sell. I mean, and turn-based games are still popular too. Like, take Metaphor ReFantazio that just dropped. That sold 1 million copies in its first day, and it still is going to be selling more. Like, turn-based games are still a thing, for example. So I mean, Square Enix, you know, you still have some good franchises that with turn-based combat, not just action RPG combat, and your wheelhouse. Bandai Namco, same thing. You got all these different IPs, from action games, action RPGs, to turn-based RPGs as well too. I think they just need to possibly, you know, focus on quality over quantity, because Bandai Namco used to drop so many games every year. Capcom's still busting out a good amount of games every year as well too, you know, at least a few games a year. Their next one is going to be Monster Hunter Wilds come early next year. I'm excited about that. So, and Capcom's probably the best Japanese company that's doing well right now overall, and they worked hard for it. They didn't used to be like that, you know, so they worked hard to get their reputation back up and restructure things like that. So hopefully Bandai Namco can do the same, and hopefully they can, you know, give us some great quality games going forward. Not, you know, give us less in terms of features, something like that, because I know there's a recent entries that came out, such as the Jujutsu Kaisen game that was lackluster, as well as I think the last Naruto game, Connections game, which is lackluster as well. Fans were upset because there's this stuff missed from the game from like a gameplay standpoint and feature standpoint that didn't make any sense. So, and Bandai Namco expected to sell extremely well. It's like, no, you gotta focus on the quality of the game, you know, some key features and gameplay mechanics that make sense and should be in there to make it a full package game of, you know, that's gonna please fans, and then you'll make your money. You'll make your money, like, guaranteed. So let's hope they, you know, get themselves together on that and it sucks they had to cancel some projects that we've never seen. We'll probably never fully hear about ever. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this, guys. What do you think about this situation? You know, sound off. Let me hear from you guys. And do you think this is good in terms of like this could possibly help them restructure and maybe be a better company in the long run? Or you know, think it's not gonna really do much to help at all? And it sucks for the people that are losing their jobs or kind of being forced to, like, you know, resign. So I don't know. Hopefully they land on their feet and be all right. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe if you're new. My name's Mike. Thanks for watching.